Claudia was an investigative journalist when she received an anonymous tip about a series of disappearances in her city. She felt this was her chance to make a big story. Determined to get to the bottom of the matter, Claudia began investigating on her own. She delved into online forums and social. Before they disappeared, a college student named Sarah. Searching for more information about Sarah, Claudia found an old diary in an antique store that had belonged to the young woman. The diary contained descriptions of strange been trying to reveal. One night, while reading the last pages, Claudia noticed a pattern in the entries. At first, she thought it might be a simple coincidence, but then she found an article that spoke of a secret cult that had been operating in the city for decades. Related to those very events, Claudia decided to attend a meeting of an occult group that was being held in an abandoned. On the night of the meeting, Claudia arrived at the location with her tape recorder and flashlight. The shadows of the building seemed to whisper secret as she approached the entrance. Inside, a group of people dressed in black were gathered around an altar. Candles illuminated their faces, but their gazes were fixed on an ancient book that someone was holding. Claudia hid behind a column, listening to the words they were reciting. Claudia felt paralyzed. Was he talking about the missing? She decided to record the meeting, and as she did, without thinking, she took a step back, but her foot tripped on a stone. The leader turned to her, his expression furious. "Who's there?" he shouted, and the group turned in his direction. Claudia ran out of the building, her legs moving on instinct. As she ran, she heard the screams of the cult behind her, their footsteps echoing on the ground.
She knew she couldn't let them catch her. However, just as she was about to reach it, a figure appeared in front of her. "They won't let you go, ... she whispered, her voice a distant echo. Claudia felt fear wash over her. Without thinking, she made the decision to ignore the woman and ran to her car. Reaching the vehicle, she realized she had left her keys on the table of the cafe where she had been working. There was no time to turn back. Claudia raised her hand, trying to reason with them. "I have nothing to do with this," she shouted, her voice shaking with fear. But the leader smiled, a gesture that made her blood run cold. "We know, but you have seen what you were not supposed to see. Now you will be part of the sacrifice." In that instant, she realized that she had fallen into a trap and that she had been chasing shadows the whole time. The cult advanced on her, and before she could do anything, everything went black. When she woke up, she was in an unknown place, tied to a chair in a basement. There were more women around her, all with looks of terror and resignation. Outside, the city bells were ringing at midnight. Claudia knew she had no time. If she didn't manage to escape, her life would become one of the stories she had been trying to tell. Help, help. Desperate, Claudia began to try to free herself. In the midst of her struggle, she heard a noise coming from the door. She realized it was not a cult member. "Get out of here," the man, who turned out to be a detective. She took the opportunity and ran for the exit, guided by the detective. As she left the basement, she felt relieved, but knew the danger was not over. As they ran toward the detective's car, Claudia felt the cult following them, her heart pounding. She realized she had found more than just a story. She had found her own fight for life. Once safe, Claudia vowed not to let the story end like this. She would publish her investigation and have the cult exposed. The woman's sacrifice would not be in vain, but as the detective helped her out, a shadow crossed her mind. How many other Claudias were there in the world? How many more would continue to disappear?